When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
Justine McIntyre in for Elias Makos this week. It's time for your In Transit segment. And today we're talking about new issues with truckers. Discount drivers are apparently a new thing on the roads coming in from Ontario into Quebec. The Quebec Trucking Association is sounding the alarm over what it calls a dangerous and unfair practice involving discount truck drivers from Ontario. The association says this practice threatens road safety and disrupts the province's trucking industry. Some of these drivers, often with temporary status in Canada, are paid as little as $10 an hour, creating unfair competition and putting everyone on the road at risk. Here to speak with us about this is Marc Cadieux. He's president and CEO of the Quebec Trucking Association. Hello, Marc.
How are you?
I'm good. Can you explain for our listeners a little bit about this discount truck driver issue and how it's affecting the safety on Quebec roads?
Well, your introduction obviously sets the table for us to get into more details. It is a stratagem that is a fraudulent one, which is being used by very well organized trucking companies that do hire employees under a status of being a contractor, which they are not contractors, they are not independent workers. They work for one sole employer, which permits them, by being incorporated, those companies are not paying wages at the same level. They're not paying the dues of the province, the social programs of the province. In Ontario, it's WSIB. In Quebec, it's CNSST. And all the compensations of the social compensations that normally you will see on your paycheck being given to your government for obviously your social participation to a society. So they are running obviously with cheaper costs of operation, which are in the vicinities of 20 or 30% less, because when you add on your social benefits to your paycheck, you can, no matter in which field you are, you know that it represents somewhere around 20 to 30% difference as an employer that you have to set up in a paycheck. So that is obviously problematic. It's a totally fraudulent, unfair competition. We are used to be competitive amongst us, mm-hmm. But when you're acting in the parameters of having costs of operation and that there are 20 or 30% difference, and you're working with lower wages that we normally usually have in the industry, obviously you're not in the range of a fair competition.
I'm listening to you describe that situation, Marc Cadieux, and I'm just thinking that this was what we were hearing 15 years ago when Uber took over the taxi market. Is that a good comparison to make here?
Well, there could be certain similarities. Mind you, the taxi industry, Uber industry is a model which was legitimately brought in and then set up. We're talking about trucking companies that are avoiding social benefits, that are avoiding certain income tax retention monies. So you have those workers that might just go bankrupt and disappear, and never having paid any income tax, and never having contributed to our social benefits in society.
So obviously a threat to the long-term sustainability of Quebec's trucking industry and working conditions for Quebec drivers.
It is. We have companies that are under the third and fourth generation that are presently operating layoffs. The volume is not there because you're being competed by a competitor that has taken your contract under much less rates than the usual rates in the industry. The rates in the industry, the margins are like 3-4%. So I mean, if somebody comes in and competes you with 10 or 15% less, because as I remind you, they're operating in a 20 or 30% less ratio of cost of operation. It's easy to come and compete on a contract with a discounted contract of 10% on an expeditor. So that this is where there's no way we can compete against that that part. Yeah, at the base, we all pay trucks the same. We all pay the gas the same. We all pay tires the same. But salaries, there's if you're in a legitimate transport company, everybody knows whether they're legitimate salaries in the industry.
So beyond the issue of obviously unfair competition here, I want to talk to you about road safety. Are these drivers people that have received correct training? Have there been incidents involving some of these temporary status drivers?
Well, this is where we'll reach many of your listeners on the aspect of all sharing the same roads together, whether we're car cyclists or pedestrians. Is that you are and CBC Marketplace came out with a very killing report on an inquiry that was made in a school in Ontario where you could so easily be accredited as being a legitimate driver with very, very, very less skills to be trained, very less training. So that is where also the issue of safety, public safety, is in place. And you've seen stories like, if we remember Saskatchewan's Humble story. Do we need another Humble to happen to understand that the governments have to move on and move into that industry?
Was that the story where the truck driver hit a van carrying the hockey team?
Yes, it was. It was, and there are other. There has been other accidents that are now in front of the judicial system that were also in the news, and it's the similar pattern is those unqualified drivers that were brought in by. Often they're brought in by leaders of communities, and I'm not trying to demonize anybody of any country wanting to come and work into Canada and Quebec, but they are led by leaders that are under a stratagem to cheap labor them. So I would say that it's like modern slavery. It's questionable, and they're taken and led by those strategic companies that are acting fraudulently, but they're so cornered in an area where, well, they don't know better, they don't know the difference, and often some people come from countries where social programs are not part of their life. They don't trust their governments anyways with their social money. So they were brought in with those thoughts, and then they're taken by those leaders and then brought in the system, but, then sharing the same road as we are. Yeah. And if they would get rightly paid, if they would get rightly trained, they are more than welcome. We want to hire them.
Agreed. And, modern slavery is an accusation that we've heard in other fields, but this is the first time I've heard about it in the trucking industry. Just in conclusion, what kind of support or action are you hoping to see from the government to address this issue?
Well, in Quebec, we've obviously the word of a public inquiry has been put on the table by an editorialist in Truck News and Transport Routier. Whether it's a public inquiry, whether it's a parliamentary committee, whether it's a multi-ministerial committee that is set up to overlook in the industry what what pieces of legislations can be modified to give a little more penalties to these operating companies, how to detect them, how to audit them, how to find them, and how to get from them the social monies that they haven't taken as an employer and remitted to the government. So it is millions and millions of dollars that the government is looking go through their fingers and not even able to catch.
Millions of dollars, and obviously also incorrect, uncompetitive practices and unsafe practices. Thank you so much, Marc Cadieux, for speaking with us today.
You're welcome.